Hey everybody, this is Dan from Phillips Projections, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to make this, which is my roof-friendly extra screen. Let's go! So I want to do a quick overview of what this is. So this is a roof mounted screen, and like I said, it is roof friendly. And by that, I mean that I do not drill into the roof at all. And this is not permanent, semi-permanent. It comes off and goes up. But it is there and strong enough to withstand a lot of good wind while still protecting your roof a bit. So looking at this, it's made up of a screen that's wrapped around, and then we have a PVC structure here, and I'll go over how to make both of these things. To hold this onto the roof, on the back you can see that I have a sand bag. This bag is actually made up of rocks, so it has pebbles in there and is weighted down. You can do one or you can do two. In this case, I just have one for this screen, which works perfect. Down here, let me zoom in a little bit where you can see that there are some eyelets that are put in underneath roof lines, so there's no risk of water really getting in there. And I had pre-drilled a bit and filled with silicone as I threaded to really help that go in. And then your back of this is held on by that, and then the front here, there are two posts that you can kind of see as you look down there. There's two posts that overhang and are zip tied to the eyelet. And this really holds this from going up and down and anywhere. Worst comes to worst, if that back didn't hold on, this would just flip forward. But part of my new design, as opposed to my earlier one, was using fabric for the screen, which really helps let some of the air make its way through without really creating a seal. And also, if it gets really windy, it's wrapped around that it will just kind of pull itself off, but still hold on here. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying the tutorial so far. There is a lot of time and research that I put into all of these tutorials. It is great that we have platforms like this that I can help share and spread the knowledge. These tutorials are ad-supported and from donations from generous viewers like you. In an effort to further share the information, give a better experience for the viewers, share files and resources, as well as support the channel monetarily, I created a website and a course. The website houses a lot of information and resources from many great contributors in the projection mapping community. It is updated regularly as new useful resources become available. The course, that's another resource that is continuing to grow. It acts as an organized and ad-free experience. There is exclusive content and resources that are included with the course enrollment. For instance, the media used in the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation tutorial series, well, that's in the course, included for free. You just need to click to download. The final platform is the store. In the store, you will find different resources that are available for purchase at reasonable prices. Keep an eye out for coupons and specials, especially during the off-season. All of the funds that are raised are reinvested back into the growth of the channel through purchases of hardware, software, and other things that can be used to create new tutorials, reviews, and demonstrations. There are two free things that you can do right now to support the channel. Please like this video and subscribe below. The more likes and followers that we have, the more likely companies are to send loaner or demo resources for us to work with and share on this website, all free for you to access. I thank you for your time and consideration of supporting this channel. Please enjoy the remainder of your free tutorial. Here are the basic materials that you are going to need to put everything together, and I might find a couple more as I'm going through this process along with you. First thing, you're going to want to drill measuring device, and you're going to want a PVC cutter. You can use a cutter like this, or you can use a hacksaw, whatever works best for you, but just have something to cut the PVC. You're going to need some primer and some PVC cement. You're going to need some fittings for your PEX. You are going to need some fittings for your PVC. So let's go over what the fittings are. First, with the PVC, you're going to need 6 90-degree angles for whatever size pipe you are picking. And I chose to do 1-inch pipe. I have done 1.5-inch pipe before, and it ended up adding some extra weight that I ended up not really needing. So I have been working with 1 inch for a bit. You're going to need 2 45-degree angles, and you're going to need 4 T's. I just bought the pack of 5. It was just easier. When we're looking at the PEX, you're going to need PEX. I like to go with a 3/4 here, and I had some blue there to show what it looks like before. And then after you have it forms into one big circle. So to form that together, you're going to need some connectors. There are shark bite connectors where you can just push them together and it works that way. It will grip that way. But if you want to go the, I guess, official way or whatnot, you get the fittings. So you'll need 1, maybe 2 fittings, depending on what you do. You're going to need some cramp rings, and you're going to need a cramper to go along with that. Last thing that you're really going to need is some PEX clamps, and that's what you use to connect and hold the circular frame to the PVC board, and it will look something like this in the end. Okay. Last thing you're going to need is a bed sheet. That's what I use for the frame. And if you want to paint yours black, I recommend the Krylon Fusion All-in-One. It does cost a little bit more. However, it really does hold on a lot better. So let's get into the ring part. First thing we're going to do with the ring is we need to decide how big of a ring that we want. So I'll throw this one down on the ground to show you. So whatever your diameter is that you want going across, that's what you're going to multiply by pi to find out how long you're going to want this entire thing. So if I want a 4-foot ring to have it go from this side all the way to that side for 4 feet, then I'm going to take 48, which is 4 times 12 to get the inches, and then I'm going to do 12 times pi, or 3.14. And that will give you the length of tube that you need to cut. So once I have that number, I'm going to go ahead, roll this out as straight as I can get it, and then I'm going to measure and cut it right at that circumference number. Then you're going to take your fittings, put the fitting in one end, cramp it, fitting in the other end of the side, and cramp it, and you will end up with a PEX circle frame. Now you can kind of see in my video that this one ended up a little bit oblong, which actually worked out well for the pumpkins, and I was okay with it. It really is hard to get a perfect circle when you're going through there, but if you do work at it, you can. You'll notice, and you might call me out, that there's 2 fittings on there. That's literally just because I made it too small in the beginning and I wanted to make it bigger, because I did not multiply mine by pi. I winged it and it turned out too small. So I'll give you the good information. Once you have this, you are set. You can put this to the side. It's time to work on the PVC frame. All right, so I have my ring down on the ground. I have it measured out, and I'll show you what I did. I went around with my measuring tape, and I picked a couple spots to go around. So I could see that this was 53 inches. And then I picked over here, went across, and I see that this is about 50 inches, and this one's a little shy of 50 inches, and then over here I have 48. And your circle might end up being a little more exact than mine is, but because of the way that I wanted mine kind of squashed to be a little more pumpkin-like, this is exactly what I want. So I'm going to go across the 53 range, which happens to be about halfway in between of these, which is a great way for me to see where I want. Another suggestion that I have for you is to take a permanent marker and just mark on here where you want your bar to optimally be across. So when you go to mount it, you know where your mountable points are. And so I have 53 here. The next step is to start cutting your PVC. And like I said, I was going to get something. I forgot to tell you, you're going to need some PVC. I got two 10-foot lengths, which is going to be plenty for what I actually need. So I have my PVC. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to measure out 53, hold it at the end, go across, and then I'm going to mark. Now you can take your cutter, go ahead and cut it. All right, now I have one of my lengths of 53, and I'm just going to double check by measuring across, making sure I didn't mess it up. And it's right on 53. And if I look and I go ahead and put it there, it matches up real nice going from one side to the next. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut another one of these lengths. I can either just even it up this way and put my mark, or you can go ahead and remeasure 53. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying the tutorial so far. There is a lot of time and research that I put into all of these tutorials. It is great that we have platforms like this that I can help share and spread the knowledge. These tutorials are ad supported and from donations from generous viewers like you. In an effort to further share the information, give a better experience for the viewers, share files and resources, as well as support the channel monetarily, I created a website and a course. The website houses a lot of information and resources from many great contributors in the projection mapping community. It is updated regularly as new useful resources become available. The course, that's another resource that is continuing to grow. It acts as an organized and ad-free experience. There is exclusive content and resources that are included with the course enrollment. For instance, the media used in the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation tutorial series, well, that's in the course, included for free. You just need to click to download. The final platform is the store. In the store, you will find different resources that are available for purchase at reasonable prices. Keep an eye out for coupons and specials, especially during the off-season. All of the funds that are raised are reinvested back into the growth of the channel through purchases of hardware, software, and other things that can be used to create new tutorials, reviews, and demonstrations. There are 2 free things that you can do right now to support the channel. Please like this video and subscribe below. The more likes and followers that we have, the more likely companies are to send loaner or demo resources for us to work with and share on this website, all free for you to access. I thank you for your time and consideration of supporting this channel. Please enjoy the remainder of your free tutorial. So I'm going to remeasure just to make sure I'm on. As you're measuring out PVC, I don't know if any of you also do the same trick, but I always measure where the letters are, so that way I have a good reference as I pull away, just in case I miss it. So I'm right on the edge of the R, and then I can mark it right there. I don't know if you do that. It's just a little trick I do. So go ahead, cut this one out too. All right, I have my two pieces. Just going to line them up, and they look perfect. Now, I didn't add any extra length to my pieces, and I'm sorry that my head's cut off there. It's actually probably better for the video anyway. I didn't add any length to it because when you go ahead and you put your angles on, you're going to see that that's going to add an extra like 2 inches to your fit anyway. And as I'm putting this together, I am not doing any type of solvent yet because I want to do a dry fit first. So there you go, I got it on. Just gonna go ahead and grab the others because you're going to need to put one angle onto each of these pieces. And by each, I mean one angle on each end of the pieces. Another thing you can do is if you have print on your piece is line up to the print. It does help out that way too. So that will help you get it straighter. And when you go to fit these, just in case I forget to tell you, when you go to fit to put the glue on them, you're going to want to take, and I won't do it now, but you're going to want to take your Sharpie and draw a straight line going this way. So when you are getting your adhesive on there, you can make sure you line up exactly how it dry fit. So in case I forget, just remember to do that step. So here's one. Lined up. And there's two. So these should line up pretty nice. Yeah, they look good. That one might be a hair off. All right, let's get into the next step. All right, so the next part of this video, we're going to go ahead and start adding the T-connectors in. And I want the T-connectors to sit flush against this. So if you look, it should sit flush and be a 90-degree angle pointing upwards. So to do that, with this pipe, you have an inch inlay. So you're going to do 2 inches, one to fit in the inch of this pipe, one to fit in the inch of this pipe. And if you're off a little bit, it's really not going to make a huge difference. So if there's like a little bit of a lip, that is okay, but you want to try to get it as flush as possible. You're going to do one for this side of the T to fit into here, and you're also going to do another one for the top for that 45-degree angle. So it should look like this in the end. So it should look just like that. Hopefully you can kind of see as you go. So that's going to be your next step. Grab a mark, do 2 inches. Now you could go down to 4, 6, 8, 10, but I don't recommend because sometimes as you're cutting you go a little bit off. So it's just easier for me to do it one at a time. If you haven't ever used one of these tools, it's pretty cool. So it has a little blade here. It has a little blade here that you line up with your line, and then a tightener. So you get it a little tight, you spin it around, and the rollers will have a nice straight line. Then tighten it a little more, spin it, tighten, and you're gonna spin until there's not so much friction. Tighten another half turn and keep going around. I like using this over the hacksaw because then you don't have to worry about having it nice and straight with the hacksaw. It does it by itself on the roller. So there's one, and I'm going to make 4 more or 3 more of these to have 4 total. All right guys, I have my 4 pieces here. So I'm going to take just one of these. This will be my back post. I'm going to slide that in, going to slide this in, and a lot of times there's seams on these that help you line up to get them more straight. I'm not going to go fully, well, I might. So I'll go in, get it as straight and as flush as I can. If you need to do a little extra straightening, if you put a little piece in and tap, it gives you some better leverage to try to straighten it a little. But remember, as you're putting everything together, it's going to really fine tune as you get all your pieces to fit. All right. Kind of a makeshift hammer there. All right, so you're going to do this for your pieces. All right, in the end, you should have something that looks like this. Now we're getting into the pain part, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be, and I'll show you here where it's not as hot. We are going to be taking this as the back post, putting it up on the roof, and then we're going to bring our circle out to find that halfway point, and then to do some measurements from there to find the angles that we need to get where we want into our frame. Once we get this angle here from the top here to this 45 degree there, so once we get this, then we will measure out the distance to have the drops for the rain gutters. And this is a part where I can't just give you measurements or tell you any more than the method that I'm doing, because everybody's roof is angled a little bit differently, and I'm sure there's a formula out there that you can mess around with to try to get the exact measurement, but by the time you're said and done, it's easier to just kind of bring it up there and wing it. All right, guys, we are back up on the ladder to the roof, and out of all these years of people requesting that I make this video for them, I decided to pick a heat wave. So I'm just a wee bit hot up here. So I'm going to do my best to show you. Let me flip this around, hopefully. I'm going to do my best to show you the process as we go, but that's my phone tripod there, and I don't want to smash it on the ground below. So I'm going to do my best to show you as I go ahead and do the work here, but it might be a little difficult. So I'll just take you through the process. You can kind of see this angle here, this 90 degree, and this slant of my roof. What we're going to do is we're going to line up the screen, and we're going to measure this piece here. So what we might have to do to get that angle is push it back, and that's going to be visually one of those things that you're just going to have to kind of see how that angle is going to work. Another thing that you could do is take a length of PVC that you have and put it in here just so you can eye up, and you could even potentially mark. But you're going to want to make sure that when you have your piece here, this angle here will hold your screen a perfect distance from your gutter. And you can see that I also have the screen in the gutter a little bit. I do that just as one more layer of contact. So I'm going to put this up there and see how this goes. And before I put it all the way up there, I wanted to show that for my circle where I had kind of rough put it, to make this a little easier for myself, I put a little zip tie there that helps me be able to swivel this to get the angle. Sorry, big breeze. To help swivel this to get the angle, but not have it constantly falling as I'm trying to maneuver it. So here we go. All right, fingers crossed that is helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm just going to hold this up and put it roughly in place. It doesn't have to be exactly where it's going to be mounted because we're going to be able to shift this whole contraption as we go. We're really just looking for the pitch. So I'm going to have this straight, and then I'm going to pitch this down a little bit. So as I'm looking, it looks like this is actually a pretty good angle from here. It might look a little different for you. So I'm going to take my measuring tape, bring it out, and I'm going to get a rough estimate. Let me get that straight again. A rough estimate here. So this rough estimate has me at, looks like about 18 if I wanted to go exact. So I'm going to shoot for 20. And I'm going to cut a piece that's about 20. I might even go 22 because you can always cut more off, but you can't add more to easily. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna cut it. All right, so I cut my piece. I went like hair over 20 inches. So I'm going to fit it in here. And then I'm going to get my screen back up. Whoa, and try not to take everything out as I do that. There we go, up over the phone. That's the important part. And then I'm going to dry fit it on this side. And dry fit means no glue. So I can take it apart. All right. Now I'm going to just take a look. And where I'm at, this looks like I have a nice angle here. And I'm going to be able to recreate that same measurement for the other side because I like how that's going. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to re-measure and I'm going to cut the same exact length. I'm going to take this apart so everything doesn't go falling down everywhere. Rest it and rest it. All right. We'll be back. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying the tutorial so far. There is a lot of time and research that I put into all of these tutorials. It is great that we have platforms like this that I can help share and spread the knowledge. These tutorials are ad supported and from donations from generous viewers like you. In an effort to further share the information, give a better experience for the viewers, share files and resources, as well as support the channel monetarily, I created a website and a course. The website houses a lot of information and resources from many great contributors in the projection mapping community. It is updated regularly as new useful resources become available. The course, that's another resource that is continuing to grow. It acts as an organized and ad-free experience. There is exclusive content and resources that are included with the course enrollment. For instance, the media used in the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation tutorial series, well, that's in the course, included for free. You just need to click to download. The final platform is the store. In the store, you will find different resources that are available for purchase at reasonable prices. Keep an eye out for coupons and specials, especially during the off-season. All of the funds that are raised are reinvested back into the growth of the channel through purchases of hardware, software, and other things that can be used to create new tutorials, reviews, and demonstrations. There are 2 free things that you can do right now to support the channel. Please like this video and subscribe below. The more likes and followers that we have, the more likely companies are to send loaner or demo resources for us to work with and share on this website, all free for you to access. I thank you for your time and consideration of supporting this channel. Please enjoy the remainder of your free tutorial. All right guys, so I have these fitted now and I put both sides in. It looks pretty good. And let me see if I can get a better angle for you. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make sure that these are nice and straight while this is flat on the back of the roof as well. because the next piece that we're going to be cutting is this piece. So we're going to need to measure the length to get from inside here, about an inch, to the edge here, because that will be on the inside. Remember to go over a little bit rather than under. So you can even shove this up to the lip. There's a little lip on the inside of the fitting, and then measure out. Look at that, it's 20. It's a little over 20. And then that one should be the same. If not, you're still going to make it the same just so everything's lined up nice. You can even see maybe that it should be the same distance on your shingle, as long as you had really good roofers and they put it on straight. All right, so I'm going to cut another 20. I'm just gonna cut one because I wanna see what it's like, and before I cut and commit to this other side. All right guys, we're back up here on the roof. I have my next piece cut. I'm going to dry fit it right back in here. And you can see that this slid a little bit on the roof, but that is fine. I'm just going to double check, make sure all my lines seem pretty straight as we go. And this really does look good. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to lay this whole structure down a bit, because the next portion, I'm going to make this, sorry, can't, there you go. I'm going to make this leg part of this portion, but I'm gonna do that over in the shade. All right. All right guys, we're back out back in the shade. So I brought the whole frame and everything over here because we're actually at a good point where we can really start dry fitting, or well, not dry fitting, but fitting everything. We have the angles right for that. Adding these onto the end isn't really going to be changing anything as we are doing our fitting. So if you want to get to a nice comfortable spot, get off the roof at this point, this is a good time to do it. So while you're doing that, getting off the roof, I'm going to go ahead and make my second 20-inch length there. And just be careful as you're moving all this around that you're not putting extra pressure on anything, so you're not bending any pipes or cracking any fittings. You want to really be as gentle as possible with this until you get everything all nice and solid. So here we go. Going to take my next one. Since this was an exact measurement that really worked, I'm going to find my pen. There we go. I'm going to line it up at the end. I'm going to make that mark so it's a nice replica of it. There we go. And now I'll go ahead and do my cut. All right, I have my two lengths. So it doesn't matter which side I pick to put my pieces on. What I'm referring to, what we're going to do next, here's my demo. What I'm going to do next is put the gutter part on. So it's the 90-degree and then the T. This was, they were out of the T's when I made it the 1 year, so I did a reducing T. It was more expensive, but you can just do the same size. It really does not matter what fitting is on that. So whatever's cheaper at that point. So when you go ahead and you're going to add the 90 on, that will just go right onto this pipe. And then to fit these two fittings together, you're going to need that buffer piece on the inside. So, or 2 inches max, you can go a little bit smaller, maybe like 1.5 inches. All right, so I have my two pieces. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fit them in. So I'm just going to put it on one. Once again, it doesn't matter which side as long as it's not this part. So you want to go in the straight part of the T. Going to take it, give it a little bang, and then I'm going to put it on this. Give that a little bang, and then it will go onto this, and that's it. So this will go down into the gutter, and then this gives you a nice spot to put your zip tie over to the eyelet or the eye ring there, so that way it holds on a little better. So now that we're at this point, we can actually go ahead and start fitting everything together. We have all the measurements, we have all of the pieces that we need cut. We've already tested it out on the roof, so now we can start fitting the pieces together. When you're fitting the pieces together, you're going to be using, you can do, one stage PVC cement, where I think it's called Fusion or something like that, but it is labeled as like a one step where you don't have to do the primer and then the cement, but I usually go the cheaper route unless I'm doing a lot of it. So I'll show you the process of there, but what you're going to want to do before we get to that point is just get a good cloth or something to put down, because there's going to be drips. The primer is bright purple, and it will stain anything. So if you want to make it to Halloween or to Christmas to actually use this thing, make sure you get a good thick cloth or something. I also recommend doing it outside or into a spot that's really ventilated, because it's potent. Okay, it's pretty stinky stuff, and we're going to be doing a lot of joints with it. So let's get that all set up. All right, man, I called it, right? I told you I was going to forget about the measurements, making sure to mark everything to make sure that it's all lined up. And that is something you definitely want to do beforehand. So what I am going to do, I'm going to put these pieces on, and I'm going to go out onto the roof. Mainly, not so much for these joints, not so much for that, but so much for these points. Because if this thing is twisted off when it goes to go into the gutter, it's going to look awful, and it might not even fit. So just because this is such a long length, I really do want to measure and make sure that's good. So I'm going to take this out to the roof, and what I'm going to do, I can show you here because these are already lined up nice. I'm going to take my marker, and I'm going to go right across the top, do a line, and then do another line down here, so I can show when I go to put this back together, I want to make sure that these two lines meet. And honestly, you might want to extend the line out a little bit as well, just to make sure, because when you go to put it together, you're going to probably be able to go in a little deeper, because it's going to be lubricated with the glue. So go ahead and go out, get everything lined up, and probably while you're up there, it would be good just to take your marker and make marks at every joint. So I'll show you again here. So that way when you go to put everything together, they all fit exactly like they need to. This is a crucial step, and I told you I was going to go buzzing by and miss it. So go ahead, do that next step, and then I'll see you back here and I'll teach you how to glue it. All right, let's start going over how to glue. So there's two parts to the cementing process. You have the primer and you have the actual cement. This stuff, like I said before, is very easy to stain things, so make sure you have some type of protective thing. Also, it's very vaporous, so make sure you have yourself well ventilated or outside, because it's pretty stinky. So when you're looking at your parts, you want to make sure all your parts are labeled and marked, so that way when you go to put them back together, they align exactly how you want them, so everything lines up nice. You can see, whoop, almost knocked it over. You can see that this one lines up here, and since it's on the same piece and there's two markings, what I usually do, I'll put like one line through, so I just know to match it. Just another trick that I've done over the course. Remember, this is not like a plumbing course, so don't watch my video and be like, all right, now I'm going to plumb some pipes at home. I mean, it's the same general practice, but there is, I'm sure, more that goes into it. So you have your marks, start taking things apart. If things are pretty tight coming apart, you could use like a pipe wrench, which is like the rubber strap. Try not to grab onto it with pliers and pull, at least plumbing wise. It messes up the seal and everything. For this, it really wouldn't matter. So if you need to, go for it. A lot of times I find if you just wiggle back and forth, it gives you enough maneuverability to kind of work itself out. So let's go over how to do this. Just keep the pieces together. You're going to start with the purple primer. A little goes a long way with this stuff. In fact, it starts to drip. So the first piece that I recommend doing is one of the fittings. So one of the sides that's marked, you're just going to go in and go around in a circle and make sure you get it covered pretty well. Watch out because it will drip through. So that's one of those things just to keep an eye on. So now that that is fully coated all the way around, go to your fitting and go around. You'll notice how powerful this is because if you like wipe enough on the numbers, they will literally disappear. So just make sure you get a good coating. Once again, we're not trying to do any plumbing, but we want to have it nice and solid. I'll just put that there, and while I have this, just do another little dip. And where it's marked, it's actually marked on both sides for this one. So I'll go around a little bit on there, maybe dump out some of the extra, go around. Let's do this side too. All right, there we go. And you can see already a mess. I got it on my fingers. So we have pretty much everything. Oh, let me do this pipe too. You want to try to get as many of the things primed because you want to give this a little bit of drying time. All right. There we go. All right, so giving it a little bit of drying time. I'll be back. All right, these pieces are pretty dry here. So the next part is getting into the cement. This is nice and clear. So when you pull it out, there's a brush on the inside just like the other can. You want to try to knock some of that off. You're not going to need a ton. It's not like you're cementing a 6-inch pipe. You're just doing a little 1-inch thing. So try to knock off some of it, but enough that you can see it moving around. So I'm going to go ahead and just double checking that I have the right pieces because you don't want to seal something that's not. And when I put a nice layer around there, you don't want it to be glopped because then that will kind of squirt out, and you really only need to do one side. Take it, and then as you go to put it in, give it a little twist as you're going and a push down to make sure that it's nice and solid. And you're going to want to hold it there for a little bit so that way it can seal. If you let it go, there are times, especially if you have extra on there of this cement, there's times that it will slowly kind of twist as it's forming. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure everything's all lined up nice. All right, that should be good. Now I'm going to go back, and since I have this, I'm going to primer the other side. So screw down the lid on the cap just in case you knock it over. You don't want to make that mess. And then give this some time to dry. If you want, you really could fit the other piece here if you wanted to do that as well during this time while this is drying. Just be careful that you're not touching it. In fact, let's do that. So here we are with the cement side. Once again, knocks them off. You don't have to get too crazy with it. Okay, nice layer around. Just look, make sure you got everything covered. All right, close the top up, line up the lines, give it a twist as you're working it on. And you can see I was able to go much deeper, which was a very good thing that I had the line there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hold this on. A lot of times I'll sit there and I'll just kind of push it down against something hard and put weight on. It's easier to hold. So let's let that dry up a little bit, and the primer's drying. I'll be back. All right, everything looks good. Look at how nice that's still lined up there. I have this over here. This is nice and dry. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the glue on the inside of the fitting. I like to put it on the inside of the fitting other than the pipe. There's probably a good reason for it, but I don't have one right now. So you can make up whatever good reason you want. All right, there we go. Cap on. Get ready to line everything up. Put a visual on both of the marks. Okay, see both of the marks. Put it on quick with a nice twist. And then line everything up nice and straight. And once again, hold it. Okay, all right, here we go. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying the tutorial so far. There is a lot of time and research that I put into all of these tutorials. It is great that we have platforms like this that I can help share and spread the knowledge. These tutorials are ad supported and from donations from generous viewers like you. In an effort to further share the information, give a better experience for the viewers, share files and resources, as well as support the channel monetarily, I created a website and a course. The website houses a lot of information and resources from many great contributors in the projection mapping community. It is updated regularly as new useful resources become available. The course, that's another resource that is continuing to grow. It acts as an organized and ad-free experience. There is exclusive content and resources that are included with the course enrollment. For instance, the media used in the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation tutorial series, well, that's in the course, included for free. You just need to click to download. The final platform is the store. In the store, you will find different resources that are available for purchase at reasonable prices. Keep an eye out for coupons and specials, especially during the off-season. All of the funds that are raised are reinvested back into the growth of the channel through purchases of hardware, software, and other things that can be used to create new tutorials, reviews, and demonstrations. There are 2 free things that you can do right now to support the channel. Please like this video and subscribe below. The more likes and followers that we have, the more likely companies are to send loaner or demo resources for us to work with and share on this website, all free for you to access. I thank you for your time and consideration of supporting this channel. Please enjoy the remainder of your free tutorial. All right, so we have our finished pieces here that are all glued up. I did both of the legs there. Now what you're going to do is follow the same gluing procedure for the rest of your frame. Just make sure that every once in a while you check to make sure that everything is nicely aligned, because if something goes off at this point and it seals and is glued, it's right back from the start for that piece. One of the things you can do, let's say like this was sealed correctly, or this was sealed the right way and this side was not, you can slice this tube and then add a coupling in between and do the right thing on the other side. So that is an option, but depending on where the piece is. But if the piece is something sealed pretty tight like this is, it's over and done with. So just make sure you're really taking your time as you're going through that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up gluing up my entire frame. I'm going to bring it out to the roof just to test it to make sure that everything looks good. All right guys, and there is the finished product. So I went ahead and I glued all the pieces together and got everything all nicely lined up. So as it's looking really good. I even tested it up on the roof and it fit up there really nicely. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started on talking about this ring. And please don't mind the siding. I haven't power washed yet this summer. So let's start talking about getting the screen on the ring. All right, so for this part, I recommend buying a bed sheet cover. So something like a twin, or even maybe a crib sheet, all depending on how big your loop is. And the first thing you're going to do once you get it is, I would run it through the dryer myself just to get rid of some of the wrinkles. And then you're going to use the elastic side of it to wrap around. And once you get it wrapped around, you're going to start needing to bunch it together. And now I have a really big bunch in mind because as I was trying to figure this all out, I decided to go with a king size, because then I could cut it up and use it for all of the screens. Well, it worked, but it definitely complicated things. So I recommend doing one each because you really want to have that elastic. It really helps you bring it around. So what you're going to do is wrap the screen, and then you're going to start bunching things together and to make it tight and taut across. And when you bunch something together and it looks good, take a zip tie and zip it to it to hold it together, to hold that bunch. And all of that will be in the background of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wrap my screen. Well, attempted to wrap it. Here we go. And this is where it's nice that this is all flexible. Go around. Perfect. And then you can see that in the back there's a knot which holds this together a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is grab another zip tie and I'm going to wring this together, give it a little twist, and then I'm going to zip tie right there. And I might want to do that for the bottom too. You want to be able to get this on and off because in the end of the season, you're going to want to be able to wash this and bleach it to get rid of any of the marks. But the biggest thing is why we zip tie is because you can see it's a little floppy there, and you want to make sure it's just nice and taut. It's from a distance is not going to look too bad, but if anybody's closer up, you want to make it look better. Could you use different material for this? Definitely. I tried painters, plastic painters, and tarp, I guess, it worked. It was very, very loud in the wind, and it actually held the wind a lot more. So that's why I went to bed sheets. I was going to do like spandex fabric, but it cost too much. Maybe you want to use the hologram, like the Atmos Effects or the chiffon. You can, is it chiffon? Tulle? Whatever the like hologram type Joanne fabric is. You can use that as well for the screen, and you'll just have to figure out how you want to attach it. But this is the best thing that I have found. The next step is to put everything up and to attach it with the hooks on the side. So I'll show you how that works. All right, so I am back up here on the roof and I have my frame up here, and I just put on the bags there just to hold it up a little better so I don't have to fool around with too many things up here as I'm trying to record with one hand. So those are up there. Everything is glued up, and I have my disc with the fabric on it, and honestly the fabric can even be off of it if it makes it easier for you. So I'm just going to go up here and line up my disc. So I'm going to look from either side to make sure that there's a little bit on either side to grab from. Once I have that done, I'm going to drill a pilot hole. So give me 1 second, let's see what that looks like. Okay, so the other side looks good if I keep it right here. So I'm going to be adding my hook, and it looks like it's right underneath this little dot in the fitting. So let me put my screen up there. Perfect. So what we're going to do, we're going to add these hooks on, and it's a PVC hook. It's a PEX hook. It's called a PEX clip, and you get it for the size of the tubing that you used. So I used 3/4, and then it usually comes with a little nail that's attached. It's like a silver hammery nail. I ripped that out, and then I put a screw in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a pilot hole up here. So that way it makes this easier to go in straight. I've done it without, and it's just kind of a pain. So I'm going to go ahead and put my phone down so that way I can do that. And then once I have the pilot hole, I'll pick back up. All right, so I used a 3/32 bit for that to put that in. Next thing I'm going to do is line up my screen, and then I'm going to clip this on to the screen, and then wherever this point is, I'm going to feed it right into the hole that I had drilled. And it's going to be important that you hold this on and try to keep it from spinning as you're screwing in. Then when it's done, it should look something like this. It should be clipped around real nice and tight, and then the screw is on there. You can see that this one's shattered a little bit. That's not from me now. These have been used for a few years, and one year the wind got really rough and was really pulling on it when I had the plastic. All right, so now I'm gonna do the same thing over to the other side. All right, now that we're on the other side, it looks like I'll be able to show you this a little easier. So using a 3/32, and that's what works for my screws. So make sure when you line it up, you put them two together and just make sure that the threads still go on either side. So I'm gonna line this up nice and tight, put my hole. Okay, so my pilot hole. Switch over to the screw. Going to clip this on, line it up with the hole there. Hold this tight so that way it threads nice and straight. You don't want the clip spinning. And there you go. It doesn't need to be crazy tight. It just needs to be on there. All right, let's step back and take a look at what this looks like. And there you have it. That is how you make the screen. The last step that I would recommend doing, and it depends on you, is if you would like to spray paint it black, just loosen up the clips, the screws a little bit, and then you can flip the clip on the other side and pull down the screen, and then you roll the screen away and you can paint the PVC, okay? And then just to put it back up, you just flip the clips back over and screw them and tighten them back in a little bit again. You can go ahead and when you're done, if you have multiple screens, you can collapse them together and they go really nice within each other for the most part. They don't really fold down. You would have to use screw fittings if you wanted to do something like that to have them collapsible. All right, let's talk about the last step in the mounting process. The last step in the mounting process for me, I like to have the eyelet there just so it's anchored in a little bit. If you wanted to do no screwing at all, you could get more of those weighted mats or weighted bags and put them along all areas of the bottom base. That would be one way to do it. I personally like having this, and since it's on this other side, and it's siliconed in there, it really does not have any leaking effects in there. So to do that, I really just put this up, put the completed frame up, and stepped back, looked to see where I wanted it, and then right behind there I marked with a little permanent marker, and then I did the mounting of the eyelet right underneath that space. Then you can see it's zip tied down there. The zip tie wraps around and then holds it nice and tight. All right, so that is it. Let's do a little quick recap.
So the process of creating these screens is really not that difficult or time consuming, and it really does have a large impact. As you can see on many of my shows that utilize the screen, it really does give that extra space. It gives a nice feature spot. Like you can see, the 3 bouncing heads really pop out. Really works well with the pumpkins if you're doing the singing pumpkins. It's just a great option for you to add to your show. So I hope you learned something new in this video. Maybe you got some ideas of things that you could use in your own projection mapping show. If you would like to learn more about projection mapping using the Adobe Suite and DaVinci Resolve, you can check out the other videos on my YouTube channel, Phillips projections, take my course on holiday projection mapping, or you can poke around the website. Make sure you do like and subscribe to keep yourself updated and to support the channel. I really do appreciate you being here. Thanks for your time.